everyone. Welcome to the 5th annual Investigator Marine Machinery Retreat. My name is Norsworthy. I'm here to introduce Martha Gillette. The cell developmental biology alumni, Professor Martha Gillette has received her PhD in zoology at the University of Toronto, and then later completed her postdoctoral research at the University of Santa Cruz. And then she joined the University of Illinois faculty in 1989. She currently directs our neuroscience program, has numerous affiliations across the campus, including right here, the Beckman Institute for Advanced Science and Technology, the College of Medicine, as well as the Carl R. Rose Institute for Genomic Biology. The Gillette Lab studies the brain's plastic responses to experience, investigating signals that shape and wire the nervous system. Her work builds upon UIUC's strengths in molecular and cellular biology, nanoscale and analytical chemistry, and bioengineering. Numerous cross-disciplinary collaborations are enabling her to apply cutting-edge technologies to identify critical molecules and processes that can aid in neural repair and restoration of cognitive function. Dr. Gillette is also a fellow of the American Association for the Advancement in Science. She's also a recipient of the 2004 Mika Saltpeter Lifetime Achievement Award by Women in Neuroscience, and was also named a Center for Advanced Study Professor in 2009. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Martha Gillette.
What a treat to be introduced by my very own student. Thank you, Miles. It's very, very kind of you to introduce me. Well, welcome. We're back in person. This is so great. As I was saying to our guest, Roger Kemp, I don't remember what we did last year. Apparently we were on Zoom, but as were most things. But it's great to be back in person. I went to Chicago for a university event over the weekend, and I noticed nobody there wears masks. I can hardly believe nobody on the planes, nobody in the city, nobody at this reception. Anyway, I have my mask with me, and you're perfectly welcome to wear a mask, but I'm quite amazed at how the world has changed and yet not changed. So, welcome to our 5th annual retreat. How time flies when you're having fun. I mean, I remember the first retreat. They've all been here, I think. And we're very glad. We have a good turnout this morning. And we have an in-person speaker, Dr. Roger Kam from MIT, who's a friend of many of us, and we're delighted that he's here. I'm going to go ahead and give you a little background on the Miniature Brain Machinery training grant, and sort of tell you what we're about, where we've been, where we're going, and sort of some of the special things about today. So our goals are broad, and it's interesting. It's worth thinking about this because we applied for this grant not expecting to get it because it's an NSF training grant, and there was a special call in Understanding the Brain. And I have to hand it to, he's coming soon, I know, my friend and colleague, Jun Kong, for having the vision to put something so broad together that it seemed impossible. This is what people are looking for. So it's spanning from cognitive and behavioral sciences to brain cell and tissue biology to train the next generation of STEM workforce to discovery. And that's you guys, that's our trainees out there, the next generation of STEM researchers. We strive to recruit women and underrepresented groups. We promote, and this is one of the calls for this kind of training grant, to promote international collaboration through trainees visiting programs, and importantly, to enhance communication. NSF puts a big emphasis on communication, and we really have brought that to the fore in our training grant, and dissemination of ideas and activities to non-scientific communities through various kinds of outreach programs. And our trainees have been very active along these lines. And that's simply the name of our grant. It's a science and technology blending grant. Now, in combining these various disciplines, which are very, very broad, we adopted a sort of two-pronged approach to training people. We have some trainees who are biologists or neurobiologists or neuroscientists, and some who are physical scientists or engineers. And each of the groups has at least one course required in the discipline of the other. So, and I've seen many of the engineering students in my advanced neuroscience course, and I'm really glad to see them there. And then we have biologists taking June Kong's course, for instance, in fluid flow. And then we have analysis that is at the cellular molecular level, assembling the organoids, basically. And then we have people who are looking at cognition and decision making and trying to bridge the chasm to what we're doing at this more analytical level. So we have an integration of brain science and engineers. This particular slide is to remind us that we're really focusing on a reduced miniature brain model. And many of our first trainees worked on brain organoids, and some still do. Some work on brain slices or cultured neurons and complex systems. But we're interested in this is an integrative center, as well as the output from this center that actuates or moves other cell types, and then input of various kinds, either from a biological source or from another source, such as an electrode. In the last year, we just finished our big report, and I have to thank Sophia for all the hard work on, I think it's like 35 pages long, the report from just this year. And it involved a summary of what our trainees accomplished this year. And this is not cumulative, this is just in the last year. 8 journal articles, 22 presentations at conferences and academic retreats. And this is noteworthy because people are going to meetings again, whereas the previous 2 years, there was much less of this. 4 dissertations or theses, that feels really good. And I know there are people in here who are heading toward that stage too. 9 educational aids, and we'll tell you a little bit more about how that goes. Today, we have various projects that the trainees work on, 5 video tutorials, 2 book chapters, and 1 invention and 1 patent. And this is an image from Sarah Bell, who's here this morning, her work with Jonathan Sweeler and Yuri Vlasov on a new device for measuring very, very small amounts of fluids in a MALDI detector. This is part of a new brain initiative grant that they were awarded. Now, we have done a lot of outreach, and I'm very impressed at the enthusiasm of our trainees for getting engaged in outreach. We have bi-weekly webinar reviews posted on our blog. We have a series of weekly meetings. Some of them are lectures. Some are training experiences provided that we recruit people from different parts of the university to expose our students to new ways of doing things, working on job searches, giving speeches, scientific writing, and so on. We have been involved in teaching elementary school and secondary schools, elementary school teachers and secondary school students. In fact, some of our students went and taught math to high school students. I think those students are here, and I was very impressed with that particular form of outreach. We are resources for K through 12 teachers and students, and our trainees are involved in student mentorship, that is mentorship of undergraduates. We have developed a series of YouTube lectures. We have demonstrations at the farmers market, and then we have our website. Did you let Robert Kenyuk in, Sophia? Okay, one of our external evaluators just, I noticed, appeared up there. So great. So these are our trainees, and you will see them around the room. So you can just step right up and ask them what they're doing and how they're feeling about it. We have Will Baker from Chibi, it's called Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering. Here's Sarah Bell, who had the paper I just told you about. She's in chemistry. Shannon Bernesh is in neuroscience. Taylor Jorgensen is in neuroscience. Charles Marchini is in bioengineering. Ryan Miller is in chemical and biomolecular engineering also. Miles Norsworthy is in cell and developmental biology. Samuel Okiam is in chemistry. Awali Saladin is in computer science. And Jennifer Walters is in neuroscience. So these are our current trainees, and they replace a steady state of 10 to 12 trainees, and they replace another cadre that's finished, and many of those people have moved on and are out there in the big wide world. One of the things that we developed a little over a year ago, along with the rest of the university, was a statement about diversity, in equity and inclusion. And this is our statement that we try to provide an inclusive learning environment that respects, that represents perspectives from diverse backgrounds of every kind. And in keeping with that, we have the demographics of our group are women in physical sciences and engineering, and these are groups that the National Science Foundation looks at as groups that need to be fostered in this kind of program. Women in the physical sciences and engineering, 2 currently and 8 since 2018. Latinx, 2 currently and 5 overall. First Nations, Black, 2 presently, 2 overall. First Nations, 1 presently, 1 overall. This is interesting. First generation college students, 4 presently and 7 overall. And I think that's a reflection of the fact that we're in a state like Illinois. And so we're delighted to be fostering their development. And then Miles is a military veteran. So we have a very diverse group. And I'm very proud to put this up here because when we had our second site visit for this training grant, the NSF officers looked at us and said, you know, Martha, you have a very ambitious, and it wasn't this ambitious, recruitment of underrepresented groups. We don't think you can do it because you're at the University of Illinois. And so I then said, aha, that is our challenge. And we really are pleased that we've been able to recruit and then engage so many students from these kind of backgrounds, as well as all of the rest of you too. And so I think we're very pleased with the success we've had in bringing in different groups and groups from different areas. So our current leadership council, training the next generation, are Will Baker, Taylor Jorgensen, Samuel Okiam, and Jennifer. And these students, everyone's required to serve on the leadership council, and then part of it turns over every year. So this leadership council is dynamic, but also gives everyone a chance to come to the fore and contribute to leading what the trainees are about. Our external advisory board, it's interesting. It just keeps growing because people don't particularly want to go off of it. We have brought on new people too. Lily Gianni here, professor of biomedical engineering and at Columbia and founder of Sense for Me, is a new person on our advisory board. She is an alum of, I believe, ChemE. She was to be a keynote speaker today, and she's just getting over COVID. So she decided, first of all, she couldn't come, so she would then give it remotely. And then her husband got very, very ill overseas and had to have emergency surgery. So I know, so she's not going to be with us today. And then we have Elizabeth Hillman, who gave a keynote address a couple of years ago at Columbia. Robert Kreniak, in neurosurgery at Houston Methodist, Cornell Weill Medical College. Todd McDivitt, who has been at the Gladstone, and I believe in the last year he moved on to biotech company. In-Hyun Park in the genetics department at the Yale Stem Cell Center, another alum of Illinois. Peter So in mechanical engineering at MIT, and Xinyu Zhao, a stem cell biologist at the University of Wisconsin. And these people have been very engaged. Let's see, Lily would be new. Peter is new, and Inhuman Park, I think, was with us last year. So we're very appreciative of their input and guidance. We have an internal advisory board as well, and this has turned over a bit since we last met. Tamar Besser is the director emeritus of the Center for Advanced Study. He's here because he was the acting dean of the College of Engineering, and then one of our core faculty, Rashid Bashir, became the dean. And so Tamir went over to the Center for Advanced Study, which he just retired from, but he's continuing on as serving as our internal advisory board. And it's kind of nice to have continuity. So he's providing some of that. We have a new and very dynamic dean in liberal arts and sciences, Benitria Patton. Wojciech Jaiko is the dean of the graduate college, and he has been with us from the beginning and extremely supportive of this program. Susan Martinez is the vice chancellor for research and innovation. And then we have a new, last month, director of the Beckman Institute, a physicist, Nadia Mason. And so we're going to be meeting with them at noon and asking for their input. And they've been very gracious with their time and very, very helpful in past years. I wanted to be sure that I put this in. Many of you know Gabby Popescu. He died suddenly in June. He was a founding co-investigator and the mentor to many of our past and one of our current trainees. He was in an accident in his home country of Romania, and it came as a huge shock to us. And of course, we're going to miss him. There'll be some memorials coming up next. The 30th of September is the first one. But Gabby is no longer with us, so we actually recruited some new faculty this year. Well, Nadia Mason is new, but she's not on the faculty. But Steve Bopar is going to be on our executive committee, and we're very pleased with that. Steve has got a lot of talents. He is the director of the Center for Optical Molecular Imaging. He's a professor and distinguished Granger Chair in the College of Engineering and professor and interim director of the Illinois Health Sciences Initiative. He's had even more appointments than that, but these are some of them. And so we're really glad that he's going to join us and be involved. And he does work on neurons and other kinds of cells, but a lot of work on neurons. And also he develops new technology. So he's a perfect addition to our group. And Sepida Sagliani is a new faculty member, associate professor of psychology, neuroscience, and engineering. And so those are our two new members of the executive committee. And then we have things to look forward to this fall. An new assistant professor who many of us know, Mei Shen, she's in chemistry and neuroscience, and she's going to be talking to us about nanoelectrochemistry for probing chemical transmitter release with high temporal resolution. Todd Coleman, who many of us know because he was at Illinois, and actually I published a couple of papers with Todd. He is finally going to be able to come back. He has a young family, so he finally is willing to leave home, and he's going to be talking to us on the 28th of September about monitoring and modulating nervous system in the brain and visceral organs. He's now at Stanford University. Our very own Hee-Jun Chun, sitting right over there. And she's going to be talking about the role of brain-specific tyrosine phosphatase, STEP, in hippocampal excitability and seizures. And she's in the Department of Molecular and Integrative Physiology and the Neuroscience program. And here is Sepida again, and she's going to be giving us a talk about the functional connectome across temporal scales. And then on November 9th, we're going to have a talk from Adele Akhtar, an alum of the neuroscience program at Illinois, I'm happy to say, who formed, when he graduated, his own company to make an artificial hand that can be used in underdeveloped countries. And he has been very successful with developing that hand, does that. And so he's the CEO and director and founder of Psionic, which is out at the research park. And he tells me he may be relocating to the West Coast, but he hasn't done it yet. So we grabbed him for a seminar for our group. So it's a very diverse group of seminars and things to look forward to. So this is the change of plans. Lily canceled only a couple days ago, and she was going to be talking about tools for continuous health monitoring and closed loop therapies. And we're very appreciative to Steve, whom I've heard give many wonderful talks. And so I wrote to him and said, Steve, is it possible that you could speak to us on Thursday morning? Got back in town last night, and here he is. And so we're really, really, really grateful and thankful, Steve. And he's going to be talking about ultra parallel label-free optophysiology of dynamic neural activity and circuit connectivity. We're looking forward to that presentation. So there's the first speaker. Our second speaker is a friend and acquaintance of many of us because he was the leader of our Science and Technology Center, the EBIC Science and Technology Center. And we just haven't managed to get him out for the MBM, but we're delighted that he's here this year. And there are other good reasons that he's here, that things have grown, that have sprouted out of our Science and Technology Center that we're happy to share with him. And he's going to be talking about in vitro neurovascular models for health and disease. And then our third speaker, Princess Emukwedi, we also know because she was here for a number of years in bioengineering. And interestingly, when she left, she went to University of Washington University in St. Louis. She could not have been there more than just 2 or 3 years when she was recruited to the University of Washington, where she's chair of bioengineering. And she also has a young family. And so she asked if she could speak to us by Zoom, and we're delighted that she is. And she's going to be talking about bioengineering, realizing the promise of signaling control in health and disease. So those are our speakers. This is the rest of the agenda for this morning. We have Steve Bopar, and then we have lightning trainee presentations. They're a little longer than they were last year. The external committee felt they were too short. So 3 minutes was not enough time to know what students were working on. So I believe they're about 8 minutes this time. And so we have 2 sets of those. I see we have 5 minutes to stand up and walk around there. And then we have a networking lunch where also the internal advisory board and executive committee will be having meetings. The internal committee will be June Kong and I, as the directors, will be meeting with them. And then the executive committee meets with Lizanne De Stefano, our external evaluator, who also was going to be here, but whose husband also had to have a second surgery yesterday. So it's funny, it's not COVID that's keeping people home. It's other things, just, you know, unfortunate confluence of events, we have to say. But Lizanne will be here. And we're just sorry, many of us know her as well, that we won't get to see her, but she will be with us by Zoom, and she will be joining the external advisory group. And then we have, after lunch, Roger Cam with his talk, and then Princess. And then we have a few closing remarks about 3:45. So I believe this brings us to the acknowledgements. And I want to say right now that, and I've said it before, we are very grateful to the National Science Foundation for their support of us, but we also have a tremendous amount of campus support. And this support comes from the Beckman Institute, where our program is located, departments of bioengineering, cell and developmental biology, chemical and biomolecular engineering, chemistry, electrical and computer engineering, molecular and integrative physiology, psychology, and the neuroscience program, the schools of chemical sciences and molecular and cellular biology, the Graduate College, the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, and the Granger College of Engineering, and the Vice Chancellor for Research and Innovation. And each of these entities gave us support. Some of us gave us a whole traineeship. And so we've been very careful to distribute the traineeships around the different programs so that we met our promise to them of providing support for this cross-disciplinary program. And that brings me to the end of my comments.